and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first time you are joining me. As you can see from the title of the video, this is my February kind of like reflections, wrap up, what I did in February type video, which is a little bit late to the game. I mean, it's the 11th of March, so we're nearly 2 weeks into March already, but finding the time to sit down and actually film this video is just really hard, right? So yeah, here we are, doing it now. I restarted these type of videos last month and I think I settled on a format that I kind of like. I'm probably going to add a few more bits in this time. They're a bit different to what I did last time, but not too much. And we'll just keep playing these by ear and changing them around as and when it feels appropriate. So I'm going to jump right in by talking about tarot, because that's what we are all here for, right? Tarot and witchcraft. I don't have too much witchy stuff to talk about, but I do have some tarot-y stuff to talk about. Again, if you saw last month's video or if you've met me, you'll know that I am a big fan of stats. I like to log things. I like to keep track of things. I use a color-coded spreadsheet to track my daily tarot draws, as well as another spreadsheet that I create for myself, a tracker in my Bujo. And then I like this year what I've started to do, because I found that even though I was doing daily draws and I was kind of looking back on them at the end of the day, I wasn't really doing too much with it. I wasn't really, and then at the end of the year I'd do like a big year in tarot where I looked at percentages and what cards came up the most and what was the first card of the year and what was the last card of the year and stuff. And I thought, well, why don't I do that on a much smaller scale and do it on a monthly basis? I'm not quite geeky enough to do it on a weekly basis yet, but this is where we are right now. So my card of the month, so, you know, a lot of us do that yearly spread where at the end of one year we sit and we draw the 12 cards for the month of, every month of the year ahead. I do the same. I think I probably got that off TarotTube actually. And my card for February was the King of Wands. And it was quite interesting to look back on. So the King of Wands is very confident, right? They're very invested in the things that they are passionate about, but they're very confident and sure of themselves and aware of their own abilities and that kind of thing. And that is not the month that I had this year. In fact, I very much had a King of Wands reversed month, for want of a better way of putting it. It was a tough month. It was a tough month mentally for me, mainly. I struggled quite a bit with my confidence this month, especially in terms of the degree that I'm currently doing part-time through the Open University. So I'm doing a distance learning degree, psychology and counselling. I'm in my third year of a 6-year degree, so it's like the first half of what would be your second year of a 3-year course if you were doing it full-time. And I'm on my first level 2 course, so I did 2 level 1 courses, which are a nice way to ease you in and get you used to writing university style essays and thinking in a very critical way and understanding the subject in a very, you know, bringing that up to a university standard and stuff. And I was performing really, really well in those. And then level 2, like I say, is like your second year at university. So it's a harder course, and it feels like it just ramps up massively. And, you know, I have a full-time job and I have other commitments and stuff. So I'm fitting all this studying in around just being a 40-year-old with a full-time job and responsibilities. And I was struggling. I am still struggling. I'm submitting assignments. I'm scoring well on them. The scores that I'm getting back are basically saying, yes, you know, when you look at them objectively, yes, they're lower than they were for a level 1 course, but it's a harder course, but they're, you know, relative to the scores that you were getting on a level 1, bearing in mind you're now doing a level 2. But for some reason, my confidence just plummeted, and I had a moment where I was ready to give up, just give it up and walk away and just say, fuck it. What am I even doing this for anyway? And yeah, I'm still grappling with that a little bit, but I'm nearing the end. I think I'm just ready for a break, because I did my second level 1 course ran from February to September last year, and then I think I had like a 3 weeks break, and then my next course started in October. So I've been studying consistently basically for well over a year with not really a proper break, and I think I'm just tired. This course finishes in May, my last assignment is due in May, and then my next course won't start till October. So I think that break will really help me to kind of reset my mind and get back into it. And right now I just have to push through. So that was very long-winded. I'm sorry for anybody who had no interest in that whatsoever. If you're still here, thanks. In terms of the cards that I drew, so if you remember, if you watched my last video, last month I didn't get any ones or any majors at all. This month I got both. I did get both, but only in the, I didn't get any ones until the 14th of February. So we were literally halfway through the second month of the year before I drew a single wand. And then the ones ended up being the second highest number of cards that I drew for the rest of the month. And majors, I only got 3. I drew 3 majors throughout the whole of February. I only drew 1 cup in February, and then pentacles came out the highest. I saw 11 pentacles in my daily draws in February, which makes up 39% of the month. I saw a pentacle for my daily draw. 29% of the month I saw a wand, which was 8. 18% of the month I saw a sword, so it was 5 swords, and then 3 majors, 1 cup. The first card of the month was the 6 of swords, and the last card of the month was the Queen of Pentacles. So I started and ended the month on minor cards, which I think was the same in January. Yeah. And both months I've started with a sword, which is interesting. Months for me so far seem to be a challenge when they begin, and then they seem to be a little bit more settled by the time we get to the end, and then we enter the next month and I'm blush. I don't think... spoiler alert, I also started with a sword in March as well, so very interesting. And then I found throughout the month that the 4 of Wands appeared 4 times in my daily draws in February, and the Knight of Pentacles appeared 3 times in February. So there was more of a sharing out across the month of everything. Like I saw something of everything this month. I got court cards, I got aces, I believe I got aces. Yes, I did. Yeah, so I saw court cards, I saw aces, I saw a fairly even distribution of where they fell. So I saw some 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. Like I literally saw a bit of everything this month, which is not too unexpected. I think it's more noticeable a pattern if you see a lot of one suit or one number, whereas this month was very kind of all over the place, and the month kind of felt a bit all over the place. In terms of the decks that I used, I worked with 2 this month. They were both decks that were new to me. I'd not used them before. One of them was a gift from a friend, and one of them was a gift to myself. The first one I worked with and I worked with it for not very long, I don't think. I only worked with this one for 9 days, the first 9 days of the month, and then I was ready to move on to something else. And that was the Phantom Wise Tarot by Erin Morgenstern. When I write her name, I also write it wrong. This is it's a nice deck. It's a black and white deck. And you know what? It might be easier if I do it this way. There we go. So it's a black and white deck. It is kind of, but not really, connected to the book that she wrote, The Night Circus, in that they kind of inspire each other. It's not the Night Circus deck, but there's a lot of themes from the book The Night Circus kind of appear throughout this deck. It's done in cardstock, which if you know me, you'll know that I genuinely don't enjoy, because I don't like the cross-hatching effect. I'm too aware of it. But in a deck like this, which has that kind of old almost watermarked look to it, I think it works. The cardstock works. It was okay. I didn't feel particularly inspired by this deck, I have to admit. I enjoyed working with it enough that I will keep it, and I will do so again. It was easy enough to work with, but nothing really jumps out as, oh my god, I love this deck and I need to work with it over and over and over again for the rest of time because it was just amazing. It wasn't that kind of deck. It was just it's okay. And I couldn't even go through it and pull out any cards that I felt strongly about one way or the other, because I don't think there were any. It was just an okay experience. So nothing too grand to say there. And the other deck that I worked with, which I did enjoy working with, was the Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. This one was really interesting for me because it is actually technically a Pips deck. It's an illustrated Pips deck, but it's a Pips deck. Pip deck, not Pips deck. I don't know. But I found that I worked with it really, really well. And the Pips really worked for me because I felt like the illustration was enough to still give me something to draw from and to kind of connect with. I really like the artwork. I love the cardstock. I like the guidebook. I like the diversity in this deck. There was just so much about it that I loved, really, really loved. I really connected with this quite deeply, I think. And as I say, I'm more so than I would ever have expected, because ultimately it's a Pip deck, and I always say that I don't get on well with Pip decks, but I loved every minute of this deck. I don't want to talk about it too much because I am going to talk about it somewhere else at another time. I feel like, spoiler alert again, I don't know when I'm going to post this video. So our next 3 Girls 1 Deck may very well be out before you see this video, and I am planning to talk about it more there. So I don't want to talk about it too much now. But yes, I'm very, very, very happy with this deck. And it was a very pleasant experience in the end, working with it. And it is one that I will go back to again and again and again and again. Books read, mainly, excuse me, I'm going to get right into the camera. Mainly, I just caught up on the 2 anime graphic novel series that I am reading. It's not anime because it's not anime. It's not animation, it's manga. So I'm reading a manga series and then also just a graphic novel series. So the manga series that I'm reading is Demon Slayer by Koyoharu Gotouge. So I've read the first 4 now. I have 5 and 6 to read in March. These are a really solid 3.5 star read for me. Now, I don't know if you watch BookTube at all, but when you watch BookTube and people give ratings, it comes across like 3 stars is a bad rating. 3 stars for me is not a bad rating at all. 3 stars for me is, I enjoyed the book. There's a lot about it I like. There's also things I don't like and that I wish had been done differently, but I'm enjoying it. It's a good solid rating for me. And that is very true of these books. There are things about it that I really enjoy and I really love. There are things about it and characters in it that I'm not keen on or could live without. Sometimes I'm a little bit confused because it moves so quickly that I'm just like, I don't always know if I'm following the story very well. But I'm only 4 books in on a 23 book series, and so far I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it enough to keep reading it, but I don't love it, and that's why it's not higher than a 3.5. The other series, solid 4.5 stars for me, and that is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I have actually finished, in March, I have finished book 3. So this is about Mainly it's about Marco and Alana, and they are from different sides of this big intergalactic war. They have fallen in love, gone on the run, had a baby, and people are after them and stuff is happening. It's quite brutal in places. It's very sexual in places. It's pretty full on a lot of the time, but it's such a great story. The characters are fantastic. I love Marco and Alana so much. I'm really, really, really enjoying it. There's 10 of these, and I was going to do one a month, but I'm enjoying it so much that I may end up doing it a lot faster than that, because every time I finish one, I just want the next one straight away. Definitely these are the first real graphic novels that I've really read, especially graphic novel series I've read, and it's been a really good experience so far and has encouraged me to look at more and more and more, because it's just so good. It's just so good. I would highly recommend. And so the other book I read this month was A Gift from a Friend, and that is Positive Psychology, The Basics by Rona Hart. This is an introduction, basically, to positive psychology scholarship. It has a lot of information and references. So it's got, the chapters of the development of positive psychology is chapter 1, where it talks about the history, basically, of positive psychology and how we got to where we are now. And then your chapter headings are things like happiness and well-being and optimism and flow and meaning in life, character strengths and virtues. And it's very much about the research that's been done, and it talks about different research papers that you can go and look up yourself and all those kind of things. It was really, really interesting. I am very interested in in positive psychology. I have been looking at applied positive psychology courses, master's courses to do when I finish my degree. I don't know if that's going to happen yet, but very, very much enjoyed this. Very much enjoyed it. It is academic. I mean, it is written with students in mind, so it is quite an academic, almost written like a paper, but it was good. I would recommend. The other book I tried to read was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, because I thought that would be a fun little thing to do, would be to use the deck and read the book at the same time, and and that would be all very exciting, and it really wasn't, and I DNF'd it at 30% because I was so bored. To be frank, it started out well, and it's beautiful. It's beautifully written. The circus is beautifully described. 30% in, I have no idea what that book was about. Not really. I didn't really care about the characters. I didn't feel the characters were very well developed at all, and didn't really care about them. I didn't care about the competition. You basically have these two main characters who've been pitted against each other in some kind of magic competition, but you don't know the rules, and you don't know the stakes, and you don't really know anything really about this competition, or what the competition is, or how it's judged, or how you will know who's won, or anything. And I realised about 30% of the way through the book that I just didn't care. Like, I genuinely didn't care. It was the scenery and the surroundings and everything were all scenery and surroundings, same difference, right? Was beautiful. It's like she had this beautiful setting, and then she threw in a story so that she could write about it. And that can't sustain me for a whole book. It just can't. To start with, I was like, I don't mind. This is good. I like reading about this. The prose is beautiful. It's, I'm enjoying myself. And then as we got to like 25-30% in, I was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care. So I stopped. I only watched one film. I watched a Korean film in February called Jung-E, or Young-E, I don't know how you would say it, which is very weird. So this is a film about a scientist whose mother was a soldier and she was killed in battle, and she basically signed her rights over to this company who use her brain to run simulations of the event that got her killed to try and figure out how to make better soldiers. And then there's this whole galactic war thing going on, which ends up not being relevant to the story at all, other than like it's the background information. And it's just it becomes this very interesting story about this mother and her child who's now a grown-up, and who's the ethics of what is going on. And it was really, I have to say, it was really, really good. But if you're looking for an action movie, it's not that. It starts out like it's gonna be, and the opening scene has such a fantastic action sequence, really well done, really enjoyable, but it just ends up being something completely different, and one that I would recommend, but I can't really talk about too much because I don't want to give too much away. I kind of really want you to watch it and experience it for yourself. But go in knowing, it's on Netflix, go in knowing that it's not going to be this big action war film. It is much more smaller and self-contained and interesting than that. So yeah, go watch that. It's good. And then I didn't really watch, I watched a lot of series, but it was like things I've seen before. So I'm making my way through Cold Case at the moment. So I did season 1 and season 2 of Cold Case. And also I have started watching Big Bang again from season 1. So I finished season 1 in February because I like to have something short to watch while I'm eating my tea. So not very exciting. Last month I did YouTube moments. This month I've decided I'm kind of change that to YouTube stroke life moments, because sometimes there'll be stuff about YouTube that I want to talk about, and sometimes there'll just be life stuff that I want to tell you about. YouTube wise, I reignited my Random Rambles little series and made the first video that I'd made in 18 months, which was fun. Like that whole kind of just sitting down in front of the camera and rambling for 10 minutes, just talking and not refilming anything and not really editing all of that much out, is something that I really like. It's a way of making videos that I really enjoy, and it's a way for me to share what I'm thinking about or what I'm doing in a way that hopefully sparks some conversation and some thoughts. And I really enjoy making those kind of videos. I think a lot of people enjoy watching those kind of videos, I hope. So I'm definitely going to do more in the future. And that is probably it. I guess life-wise, so if some of you have been around for a while, you might know that I used to, before the pandemic, I used to be involved in a lot of witchy meetups. I used to go to like 3 or 4 in a month sometimes, and they all really stopped during the pandemic. And I've started now going back to one once a month. This one is a discussion circle. So we meet in a room at a local library, and we have a topic and we discuss the topic as a group. And I went in November for the first time since January 2020, I think, was the last time I went to one. So I went in November last year, and then I missed December, and then January was like I don't know what they call them, but it was AGM, annual general meeting, that's what they call them, right? AGM meeting. So I went along to that, and then February was the first real prepared for topic discussion that I'd been to for a while. And we talked about, it was an interesting conversation. So we talked about from a witchcraft pagan sort of perspective, if you looked at your practice and everything that was involved, and you had to strip it right back to the bare bones foundations of what matters to you, what would that look like? And it actually ended up being a lot harder than people expected it to, including me. And there were so many things that I realized that I didn't want to give up, but also there were many things that I thought would be more important to me than they are. So the big one for me was journaling. Journaling is a really fundamental part of my practice as a witch and a pagan, and I would be lost without. And, you know, basic things like grounding and centering and meditation, and then after that it got a bit sticky and I wasn't sure what I would keep and what I would be able to give up if I absolutely had to. So that's something I'm still really thinking about. It may end up turning into a ramble at some point in the future, who knows? But it was great to get out again and discuss topics with people in person who came from similar perspectives to me. I didn't realize how much I missed that until I started doing it again, if you know what I mean. So that's been a good thing in February that I've really, really enjoyed. And I think that's pretty much it. This has ended up being a little bit longer than I expected it to. Thank you very much for sticking with me if you've made it this far. Hopefully there will be more videos to come very, very soon, and I will see you all shortly. Take care and lots of love, everyone. Bye-bye.